I would invite all practitioners that are interested in this to join Pipla and to donate to Pipla, because in a short time we've done a great deal, but it's cost a great deal as well, and we're not going to be able to continue to go down this line of actively and proactively intervening in matters to the benefit of attorneys and their clients if people don't give us money. It's as simple as that.
I don't think that there could be a worse time to ask anybody to contribute money. Firms are getting by on their savings or minimal payments, other than those who are lucky enough to somehow have managed to get their matters loaded up or are issuing writs. Let's face it, times are tougher than they have ever been. Things can only improve from here. In 3 months' time, every firm will be in a better position than they are now, and in a far better position in 6 months' time. It is time for us to start trying to raise money for Pipla. We have a team with considerable experience. You all know my track record and my involvement with the legal profession over the years, but you might not know some of the details. For example, I was in charge of the Law Society's submission on the RABS bill, which was very effective, and I appointed Advocate Eben Safontaine, who is on our committee, to do that submission. So we have on our committee the man who did the submission for the Law Society on RABS. Justin Erasmus, our chairperson, lectured at several universities before becoming the deputy director at the Gauteng Regional Land Claims Commission and then joining the bar. He has extensive experience in the legal government sphere. I've been involved in all sorts of submissions over the years. Just to give you one weird and wonderful example, I had to rush to Parliament when amendments were proposed and supported by many Pretoria attorneys that would have seen the whole of the Randburg district, including Sandton, unbelievably falling under the Pretoria High Court. I made representations to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee and obviously rallied support from all the big firms in Johannesburg. It was a great trip to Cape Town for me, because not only did we achieve our goal, and that legislation never came to pass, but I got to meet my uncle, Chris de Broglie. For those who don't know, he was forced into exile in London during apartheid, and he formed SANROC, the South African Non-Racial Olympic Committee, which made representations to the International Olympic Commission and had apartheid South African teams removed from international football and the Olympics. So I come from a family that has always been politically involved. And I've always been somebody who, as you all know, is unafraid to say what needs to be said. Although I don't necessarily go out of my way to make everything controversial or contentious. In fact, I believe in trying to keep the peace where one can. Having said that, attorneys now face many situations where there seems to be no way of keeping the peace. We either have to intervene and stand up for our profession or watch it eroded and destroyed. We are constantly under attack, which is in contrast to most other jurisdictions, such as in America, where attorneys are appreciated for the value they provide. They would be astounded if they were told that in South Africa, there are formal government proposals for attorneys' fees in future to be determined by what their client was earning. If their client was poor, when they finished High Court litigation, their bill would be taxed on a magistrate's court scale. The organized legal profession is, of course, going to make a submission, but you can rest assured it will not deal with the ins and outs of our particular field and our particular interests, and that is why we need to give our input. This is something Pipla is getting involved in. Pipla has already intervened with regard to the issue of judges becoming involved in settlement agreements, which, we can all agree, affects accident victims. Victims of motor accidents who are going to have their settlement lowered by a judge clearly have an interest in the case. That submission costs money because we have a junior counsel as well as a senior counsel. Intervening in court cases, including in court cases which will probably go on appeal, is expensive. But we need to do it because it's clear nobody else will. And believe me, we invited certain organizations to involve themselves and got the usual reply. Promises to discuss it the next day, and then no reply. even to follow up emails. When we do things, we will do them properly. We will use the best advocates at the bar, and we'll try to ensure that we always use senior counsel. I want to make it loud and clear. We are going to take on deserving cases, even if it is expensive, and even if the prospects of success might seem slim. I do not know which ones, but we are not just going to take on something that is absolutely safe, guaranteed, and we cannot possibly lose. That does not mean we'll get involved in all sorts of nonsense litigation and every small case that somebody approaches us with. But if we think that it is going to affect us as attorneys and our clients, and there's a good basis for us to get involved, we will get involved. That will take money, and we will need your support. At some point in the future, new RAF amendment bills are going to come our way, and we want to tackle them properly, with proper marketing and advertising campaigns. And that is something I have a lot of experience in, as you all know. It may well be that we need to run adverts against the Road Accident Fund if, for example, they attack attorneys unnecessarily. Hopefully they don't, but we mustn't sit back, as many have, and allow the Road Accident Fund to issue press releases always blaming attorneys without fighting fire with fire if that is the road they want to choose. We will always choose the road of engagement first. But if that goes nowhere, or we are treated unfairly, we must come out and spell out the other side of the story and what we as attorneys are witnessing. We may need to run adverts about new legislation, but to do all of that takes a lot of money. Sure, you can flout one advert fairly cheaply, but to do it on a sustained basis, and normally in a much shorter time frame, which you need for those types of issues, is easily going to need 1 million, if not 2 million at time. My long-term goal would be to raise millions for Pipla. We will really need it. Let me just talk about funding now. I've given you a few examples of what we want to do and how we want to raise enough money to adequately launch proper challenges to whatever is coming our way in terms of future legislation, including the use of the very best senior counsel at the bar and professional marketing strategies involving digital marketing as well as television. The best way for you to help is to start by contributing a lump sum. If you cannot give a lump sum now, then give us a lump sum from time to time when you can, or at the same time consistent monthly support. Debit orders build up over time. It may not be that much at first, but if every attorney in this country who actually made a living out of this work gave a couple of thousand a month to an organization, then that organization would raise millions a month. That organization would be able to do anything. That organization would have the resources that no law society or organization in South African history has ever had. Part of the problem is that most attorneys don't want to give money. South African lawyers are very apathetic. They always say that times are tough, which, let's be honest, right now they are. And they always want to give very small donations, a fraction of the money flowing into their business accounts each month. That is why I've suggested before that one of the best ways to raise funds, and almost all of my experts do this, is to ask your experts to contribute 2% of what they are paid each month. That does not mean they must give 2% of an account, just 2% of the actual money that they receive from your firm that month. And you deduct it from their account, obviously with their permission, and then pay it over to Pipla. One can raise substantial amounts of money that way. Of course, we all need to walk the talk ourselves. And to walk the talk means you need to do a debit order on behalf of your firm. It does not have to be so much money that it hurts you, but 200 Rand a month is not really going to help, as you can imagine. I give 25,000 a month currently, and when the situation improves, I'll try and give more. That is in addition to an initial 75,000 Rand that I contributed to Pipla. Despite what you may think about larger firms, times are incredibly tough for us too. In fact, if it was not for a very lucky and substantial trade on currency markets that are made in March due to COVID-19, this would have been an absolutely disastrous year for my firm. That trade, of course, had nothing to do with my firm, but it did help to keep me afloat. To tell the truth, I don't want to work with experts who don't want to support the same causes as me. One specialist who largely does plaintiff work told me he didn't want to support APRAV when we asked him to last year, saying that a counsellor of the Legal Practice Council told him APRAV was a crock of shit and plaintiff attorneys were crooks. Hopefully, he'll support Pipla. If an expert really thinks the plaintiff attorneys are terrible human beings and they cannot support their organization, then I'm not sure why that expert is trying to make a living off us. And I'm not sure that any of you should be sending those types of specialists any work. But that's my personal opinion, and obviously you have to do things the way you want to do it. The bottom line is that some of the same experts you are using are contributing 2% of what I pay to them, and they could be contributing 2% of what you're paying also, if only you asked. You should ask all your experts, because it really could help make a huge difference to their future, your future, and the future victims of motor accidents. So, I think that the best 3 ways for us to raise money right now are by asking you to start with a lump sum in whatever amount you can afford right now, but please be generous because we need to get off to a good start. Secondly, to sign up a debit order for us, for Pipla, so that we can get income on a monthly basis. And thirdly, to speak to all of your experts and put plans in place with your bookkeeping department to deduct 2% from the amounts that they are paid each month and to pay it over to Pipla. If you do all of that, you will help us raise a substantial amount of funds, which we can build up for the challenges we will be facing in the future, and which we can use right now for the challenges which we are already involved in. I don't believe in doing things cheaply, and I don't believe that the best talent comes cheap. So many people have gone into so many different fights at court without the heavy artillery in the form of senior counsel. I'd like to make sure that in any cases that we become involved in, we put forward the best experts, the best senior counsel, and have the very best marketing campaigns. Marketing, by the way, doesn't just involve advertising. It can involve publicists and people who get press releases into the media. Almost everything you read about the Road Accident Fund in the media would start out as a press release that has been issued by the Road Accident Fund's media department, and each newspaper's journalist rewrites it in a slightly different way, but it's largely the same article. They're the only ones who do something. If we need a full-time media person in that regard, we need to put them on a retainer, and that requires money. If we want a parliamentary liaison officer at a later stage, that too will require money. We need to build up a lot of money, and I am talking millions, to be able to launch the advertising blitzes that we might need to use when future legislation comes our way. I'm asking all of you to please reach into your pockets in a way that you never have before, and help us on a greater scale when things improve and you are in a better position to help. There is so much we can achieve together.